Hello, welcome to Conversations with Educators. My name is Jerome Ellison. I'm here today with a special guest, Rapiere Williamson, paraprofessional and lead teacher assistant. Thank you, Rapiere, for coming on the show today.
My pleasure. I'm glad to be invited. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's get started. My first few questions are just like open and getting to know you questions. So the first one is, why did you become a paraprofessional? What got you into the field of paraprofessional?
Wow, that's a good question. I would have to go back to, man, I did 2 years in Maryland, Columbia University. Well, now it's Columbia University in Maryland, and I didn't have a job. I was going to school full time, and I was working part time at cafes and restaurants in the city.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe my mom had heard about paras, and she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna try to get you to become a para." Mm-hmm. So I never heard of it. At the time, I was trying to get my degree I was an English major. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to become an English teacher at the time, and my mom was an English teacher as well. Mm-hmm. And so she kind of talked to her principal at the time, mm-hmm. and asked him to see if he could give me at the time a nomination letter, which was mm-hmm. like a literal letter that they had to give you for you to go downtown. Yeah. And at first he wouldn't do it, and she stopped asking him. So I just kept working different jobs and stuff like that, working at this restaurant called Peter Grill in the mm-hmm. city on 2nd Avenue. And then she said one day her principal just walked in and was like, "Does your son still need that job?" Mm. And she was like, "Yeah." She's like, "All right, tell him to come in. I'll give it to him." Out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it was somebody like months after she had asked, and he had ignored her, and then all of a sudden he gave it to her. Mm-hmm. So I came in, I met him. His name was Dr. Everett Hughes, black guy. He was the principal at IS 292, where she worked. And he gave it to me, and that's how I became a para. I'm not even going to, it's no fanciness to it. It was just, at the time, just necessity, needing a job and, getting my foot into the education system. And
nice. You say he was a black man? Black man?
Principal,
nice. Yeah. See, that's why we need more black people in high positions. Yeah, they open those opportunities up, open the door up for more of us.
That's exactly how I got in. If it wasn't for him, I don't know where I would be working. I'll probably still be working somewhere else. I don't know. Yeah.
And it's been years now, right? It's been about probably a decade or so, right?
Yeah.
Got some years in. For sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So what do you think is the best part about being a paraprofessional? What's the best parts to you?
The best part, I would honestly have to say one of the best parts of being a para is the fact that you're able to be more engaged with the classroom that you're assigned with, because usually you're able to be more one-on-one with the students, a little bit more than as a teacher. As a teacher, you have to especially in a middle school setting where you getting over 100 students, you know what I mean, sometimes mm-hmm. even more than that. Mm-hmm. You're not able to give individualized learning. But as a para, you're able to, because you're with that class every day, mm-hmm. all day, from morning to afternoon, and even sometimes you're there during lunch duty with those same students.
Yeah.
You're able to form more of a rapport with them. You're able to have more conversations, and you're able to help them on an individual basis a lot more than I would say maybe a teacher can. So that's one of the things I would say. Just the more hands-on ability that you can give to students when they need help, even if it's not your assigned student.
That's true, because you see them. You don't only for teachers. If I'm teaching ELA, I only see the kid during ELA. For paras, you travel with the class, so you see them in ELA, math, science, social studies,
all the subjects.
Their strengths and their weaknesses a little better sometimes.
Across the board, exactly. I know, like this student, he doesn't really like English because when he comes in English, he don't want to do nothing. Mm-hmm. But that same student, when I see him in math, he's engaged. He's doing it because that's what his interests are. So you can see that you can see how students vary across different subjects and their strengths and weaknesses as well. And one class, they may be a problem, but another class, they may not. But it's also because of the interest level in that subject matter as well.
Yeah. And you can kind of maybe communicate with the teacher and see like maybe there's certain things that work in that class that they can use in their class that may work for that kid because you see them across the board.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you know,
Yeah.
it all depends on it all depends on the teacher as well. Some teachers would like to have that. Hey, you know, does this student, how is he in this class? Some teachers ask those questions. Some teachers, it is what it is.
That's true. That's true. Some teachers, you just got to come in and keep your mouth shut and just work with your kid and not give any feedback. That's true.
You gotta go.
Yeah. Yeah. That kind of leads into my next question, right? Because I know that's a challenge as a para, like trying to figure out the personalities and relationships you have with different teachers in order to meet the kids' needs. Like, what do you think is the biggest challenge being a para?
The biggest challenge. I would say, and it's funny you asked that. I was in an interview to get into a program, and they asked similar questions like that. Like, what is your teaching? What is your style when it comes to being in the classroom, helping a teacher? And it was like a forum because it was more than one para there. It was like other paras there. It was other educators in the interview process. And I'm honest with you, I was like, it all depends on the teacher. It all depends on the environment that the teacher sets. Sometimes the teacher sets an environment where they want your input, they want your engagement, they ask you questions, they want to collaborate and work together with you. And some teachers, they just want you with that kid, in that corner, and I don't need you to just make sure that kid that you're working with doesn't bother me. That's it. Doesn't bother me. Doesn't ask you no question. Like, you know, if he has a question, let him ask you. You know what I mean? So
very true.
Like I told him. So as a para, depending on your personality, because there were other paras that was like, they don't like that. You know, I'm gonna let them know what it is regardless. That's how some people are. Some people that way, where they're gonna tell you regardless whether you like it or not. Me, on the other hand, I'm like, hey, if that's what you want, whatever you want me to do, you let me know, and I got you. So I think the hardest challenge for a para, it depends on your personality. Because if your personality is one is such that, you know, you have to feel involved, you have to feel like you're doing more than, you know, you want to do more because you know you can give more. It can be difficult because you'll bump heads with the teacher. And if your personality is like, listen, whatever you need me to do, I'm gonna do it because that's what I'm here for. You know, so I think it's all dependent on your personality. Me, I have like one of my biggest challenges, I think, was when I first started. It was what was her name? I can't remember her name. But I first started, and they threw me into the fire. Blazing hot fire.
The wild class.
Wild. 12 to 1 to 1. So it was 2 paras and a teacher, but there was only like 5 students.
And it probably felt like 40 students. It probably felt like 40 students to challenge.
But I have to say, she kept it on lock. Like, she had it on lock. It wasn't no problems. I didn't see how wild the class was until she was absent. I was like, oh, that's why she's like that. Oh, okay, I get it now. She was like a mad woman. Like, it was like, yo, you think you're crazy? I'm crazier than you're crazy. And they didn't mess with her. But yeah, it was a challenge because, you know, it was one of those, I don't want to hear from you. I don't want to see you. Just make sure you over there with that kid, and I don't want him bothering me or nothing. So anything that he needs, you're doing it. I don't want to. Don't ask me for nothing. Don't say nothing to me. It was crazy. Difficult. I was like, whoa, it was like that? Okay.
Yeah.
So
I feel like
I learned early that you have to be able to adapt, and you have to be able to, like, if that's what they want, you just gotta do it. So I learned from early, like, you know, not just staying in your lane.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a big challenge for all paras. But I would wish that, especially for you, a para being a Black male, knowing that a lot of Black kids, boys especially in the school system, struggle and don't get the support they need. I would wish that more teachers would try to get your feedback and use you in that kind of a way, because you have that connection naturally, just being a Black man with those kids who often tend to struggle. in a lot of our classes, you know, but you can't do nothing about it. Like you said, you got to just play your role and hopefully hope that the teacher wants your input and your feedback, you know.
Exactly. That's a fact.
This is a kind of a question going back to your experience in school. Who was your favorite teacher, para, educator growing up in grade school, and why?
All right. Good question. I never heard of para. I never heard of a para before
you didn't know.
I started working. I'm just honest. I never heard of it. But I would say my favorite teacher. Any level or
any level? Not into college, all the way through high school.
Okay, high school. I would say it would have to be in high school. It would be Dr. Herndon. It was Dr. Herndon, and I cannot remember his name. He taught social studies. But Dr. Herndon, he was one of my favorites because I like history.
Yeah.
I like hearing stories. So like even growing up, like my grandfather, he was in World War II. And I would go and check on him. And I would tell him to tell me stories about like when he was in the war. Yeah. You know, all the stuff he went through because he was in Germany and all sorts of different places in the war. So I would ask him questions. So his name was Dr. Herndon. And I like stories. So he used to teach the Bible class. So he always had a way of explaining the Bible in which you can understand. Like, because there's so many different stories and explanations and like, I'll be honest with you, very confusing things within the Bible that is hard to understand and explain. And he always had a way, like he would answer every question and he always had a way of explaining the very difficult passages in the Bible that weren't very easy to understand. And he was able to break it down in layman's terms where you like, oh, that makes sense. I get it. So I would say Dr. Herndon. Dr. Herndon was one of my favorite teachers.
And what he said, he used stories and like kind of like analogies or comparisons.
Well, he taught the Bible class.
Okay.
So the Bible is just full of stories and different things that were going on, and so it's like a history book.
Yeah, but what would he do? What would he do that make it connect for you? That make it make sense for you?
He would bring it into real life. So
Here we go.
I'll give you one of the examples that he gave was in regards to Jesus saving everyone from their sins and how he was able to do it. And I'll never forget how he explained it. He was like, okay, he was standing in front of the class. He was an older dude, but he was a slim, young dude. I mean, slim and fit. Yeah. And he always wore a tight shirt, tie,
flexing.
triangle tie. You know, he was not a big guy. He was like a shorter guy, gray hair. Yeah. Dr. Hurd, I'll never forget him. Dr. Hurd. And he explained it and said how before Jesus came, we were under the sword. So he was standing there. He was like, the sword is here. But once Jesus, you know, died and sacrificed himself, we're no longer under the sword, but we're now under grace. And because of grace, that's why we're able to not be under the sword anymore. Like stuff like that. Yeah. Like, he was able to, like, you know what I mean? He used his body. Like, he was just into it. Like, so,
that energy.
Especially, exactly. Yeah, it wasn't like, all right, so let's talk about the Bible.
Yep.
And, you know, all right, so Jesus, it wasn't like that. Because if you teach it like that, you're going to have that same energy. Like, yeah, the Bible's boring. But he made the Bible so exciting. Like, the stories were so engaging, the way he explained it. And he, you know, used his energy to bring it to life. You know, it made me want to learn more about it. You know what I mean? It didn't make the Bible boring.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It didn't make it boring. It made it like a book of stories that happened and that, you know, it was just amazing how he did it.
That's teaching. No matter if it's the Bible, math, science, social studies, reading, writing, you got to have that passion and energy. You got to bring that. But then you also got to make it make sense for the kids and where they are developmentally, right? You have to connect to them so they can see how it applies and how it makes sense in their world of how they know it now. So that was teaching skill right there. I want to move to a kind of a break in the segment, like a little game. This game is called Start, Bench, and Cut. So starting, you probably know what this is. So starting is something that you would put in the starting lineup, right?
Okay.
Bench is something that you would put, still make the team, but they're going to be on the bench.
Okay.
And cut, they didn't make the team. It wasn't good enough to make the team. It's something you don't like, so you just want to get rid of it, right? Okay. So which one would you start, bench, or cut?
You'll get me in trouble. I already know.
No, it's not going to be anything crazy.
All right.
Lunch duty, breakfast duty, or bus duty. Which one would you start, bench, or cut?
Wow, that's not bad. Now, I'm starting lunch duty. I think lunch duty is the best. Not to me.
Why?
I would say because it makes the day go faster. To me, because one, you're able to engage with kids, students, or whatever. I mean, all right. It depends on. All right. It also depends on where you are. If you're a para, I would say lunch duty. If you're a teacher, because you want to be able to interact with your other colleagues, I would probably not want to do it. But let's just say as a para. I would start lunch duty because one, it doesn't feel like a whole period because it goes fast because you're talking with the kids. You can play ball with the kids. There's always something going on. There's always some talking. The kids always ask you questions and talking to you. Like it flies by. And then after that, you have lunch, and then the day's almost over. Like the day's practically over by the time you do lunch duty. So I'm starting lunch duty.
Who are you benching?
I am bench.
Bus duty or breakfast duty?
I would bench. I would bench breakfast because if they're gonna pay me extra to come, I'll do it. If they're gonna pay me extra,
exactly.
I'll do it.
I'm there early morning. First one there.
First one there. If you're gonna give me a little extra money to be there, I got you. So I'll put it on the bench and bust it. Yeah, but see, the thing is, that's I would.
You're gonna cut busted?
I would cut busted, but you know, some people like to, you know, some people can get away with murder with that bus. That bus come early, you can be out of there by 2 o'clock.
2:15.
You out of there. You out
last period is 5 minutes long. You're gone. Yeah, you're right.
The day isn't 2:40, but you going at 2 because that bus is going. So,
your kid is gone. You gone.
Ways to wiggle the system. So I mean, I never really had to do busing like that. So I would say cut bus.
All right, cool. All right, let's get back to it. This segment is called Stay Woke. So one thing that I heard you refer to before, and I know you are in this program, the lead teacher assistant program. So one thing that I read up on is that they say 2% of the workforce, meaning the teachers in school systems across the country, are Black. But Black and brown students make up 50% of the public school population. So the question is, I know you're someone who wants to make the transition from, you know, para, lead teacher into teaching, and that's something you're making steps toward. What are some roadblocks that you have faced in that process of trying to become a teacher from the para position?
Wow. All right. Another excellent question. I would say my biggest problem was in the beginning of when I was trying to become a teacher. There were no real incentives or programs to really assist paras that are in the system, working in the classroom, to become teachers. Now, because at that time, when I first wanted to get into, because I was in the education program. I was going to get my degree in educational science, right, where I can teach science from 6 to 12, right, and that was the plan. But I got to the point where I could not work and go to school at the same time. I couldn't do both. I would say now it's changed drastically, but it was too late for me. But it's not too late for others. Where like you can be a para now, and you can actually still get paid and do your student teaching at another school or at the school you're at now.
Oh, they let you do it at the school that you work at? Those hours count?
Do it, yeah, and it counts towards your hours. So you do student teaching. You're still getting paid as a para, and you can still do your student teaching. It overlaps.
Yeah.
That wasn't around when I was trying to do it. So I had to completely change my trajectory and just get a degree in science. But But I think the hardest obstacle I would say is knowledge, is information. The reason why I would say that is because, especially as a Black man living in I would say, quote unquote, the hood, you don't really have the access to the information you need to know what steps and what path it is to take to get to the end of your journey. My mom, she did it a completely different way than I did it. So I was trying to do it somewhat her way, and her way got expired.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So along the way of me trying to do it, I'm now kind of stuck in the mud a little bit, because there's so many things we're not taught and we don't know. And some of it our parents didn't know. So they're unable to have given us that information as well. Like me, I'll be honest with you. I thought that all you had to do was get your degree. It didn't matter your GPA. It didn't matter anything. All you had to do was get that piece of paper and you're good to go. That's what I thought. Nobody told me how important. I mean, I know GPA is important, but, you know, I thought it was just a piece of paper. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And if I had known how high you should have your GPA to be able to get into so many of these programs, I would have taken a couple classes over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, because a lot of times I took quote unquote L's on different classes, and I was like, you know what? I got the class. I'm just keeping it moving. And I also met other people. Like, I was in a class with a guy, and he only needed like one more class. And he was in that same mode, like, yo, I just need a paper. Like, it doesn't matter. And he took a D in the class, just like I took a D in the class, because all we're looking forward to is just graduating.
Getting a degree, yeah.
Getting a degree. We didn't understand, and I know he didn't, because I don't think his GPA was that better than mine. We didn't understand, like, yo, I don't think we should take a D in this class. We got, like, even though we're trying, it's not like we're not putting our best effort, but sometimes you have professors that aren't very nice, I would say.
Or flexible, not flexible at all.
Not flexible at all. It's not even flexible. It's just a matter of being understanding. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah. So, especially with a bilingual course, we were taking Spanish too. So it's like, come on, man. Like, you're going to be like, and I told him, like, even before I took the course, I told him, you know, I haven't taken Spanish. Like, this is my last class to graduate. I haven't taken Spanish 1 in years. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting tutoring. I'm going to the student center to learn more. But, you know, just work with me, you know, X, Y, and Z. Absolutely not. He didn't care. So, you know, I think it's knowledge and information. Knowledge and information. Because if I had known what I know now, I would have taken a couple of courses over. It would have been more beneficial for me to add another year to my journey of getting my degree and retaking courses and getting higher grades than just getting a degree and now you're like, dang, I can't get in that one. You know, it makes it a little bit harder. So I think knowledge and information.
Yeah, because getting your GPA up, because things like programs like Teachers Fellows and all these other programs, they want a specific GPA, and if you don't meet that, they're going to eliminate you from the pool. Exactly. You know, and those opportunities are great because those are other pathways in, faster pathways in to the field of teaching. Exactly. Yeah. But I know you are currently enrolled in a program that's allowing you to take steps forward with that, was the Lead Teacher Assistant Program. Right. Can you talk something about that and explain how that works and how you found out about that?
So the Lead Teacher Assistant Program was a program I've heard about it, but I didn't know a lot about it. So I had went to a para workshop to get some CTLE credits. And it was at the Marriott, downtown Brooklyn. So I went, and it was a whole bunch of paras, and there was a young lady who was a para as well that was leading the course. And she was talking about, she brought up how she was a LTA and how what she does in her school and how they use her in the program. And I was like, wow, that sounds really good. Like, you know what I mean? And I had just gotten my degree. And I was, like I said before, I was kind of stuck because now I
Mhm.
have to kind of do something else to be able to get to my end goal. So I said, with this program, called the lead teacher assistant, the way it works is, once you have your degree in anything, you're able to be pretty much an assistant teacher within the classroom,
Mhm.
and you're allowed to teach classes completely
Mhm.
by yourself. You're assigned to a teacher that is pretty much like, I would say, well, I forgot what it's called when you become a teacher and they give you somebody to like help
Like a
you.
mentor teacher.
Mentor. It's
Mhm.
kind of like almost like you're with a mentor almost. And you collaborate for the lesson plan, you collaborate the lessons and everything like that. And say that teacher doesn't come in, you are able to teach the course while they're not there.
Mhm.
So, and those hours that you are an LTA counts towards teaching.
Mhm.
So it was like it hit two things at once. So
Yeah.
it was great for me to be able to try to get into it. However, the problem with the program is that because I believe there's no real money that they allot to the principals to incentivize it for them to give it to
Mhm.
paras,
Mhm.
it's an optional program. So a
Mhm.
principal does not have to do it. It's not like once you get in, you automatically get the job and
Yeah.
you're in it. No, a principal has to allocate funds for you to be in it, and they have to create a job vacancy for you
Mhm.
to be placed into it. So
Mhm.
it's a lot of hoops you have to jump through to even get into it and have it. And on top of that, it's a yearly basis. So
Mhm.
every year you have to
Do it all
put
over.
into the, like, you don't have to
Mhm.
reapply to the program you're already in, but your principal has to every year put you in there for you
Mhm.
to be in it. So,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah. It's not steady long term, but it's like a
no, it's
foot
not.
in the door. It's not like you're not all the way in, but you have a foot in the door. Get your feet
Right.
wet. And I think what would be interesting is to see how it works out. Because I know now with the coronavirus and a lot of teachers working from home and
Right.
schools not having enough teachers in New York City to have in-school learning, they're being more flexible with paras and giving them more
Absolutely.
opportunities. And I think
Absolutely.
that benefits people who have this lead teachers assistant program certification to be given opportunity, or is more incentive, or is more necessary for principals now because they have a shortage in positions to give opportunities to people like you and other paras to
Right.
lead in the classroom and be teachers or lead their own class. I wonder, see how that goes when things start to clear up. But I hope that this shows, the department and departments across the country that there should be more pathways, especially for paras who are in the classroom. They're often with kids. They have a lot of hours and experience planning with teachers, working with teachers, and in the
Exactly.
system, it should be easier for them than anyone to make that transition. And so
Agreed.
this opportunity could lead to,
Definitely.
more opportunities in the future, hopefully.
Definitely.
You know. All right. My next segment is called equity and diversity. So, are you a crisis para or are you an academic para? And can you explain the difference if you can?
Well, crisis para is pretty much what I've been my entire
Hmm.
time.
So, what exactly
Uh,
is a crisis para? What does that mean?
Crisis, they call it a crisis management paraprofessional. That's the fancy name for it. But a crisis management paraprofessional is pretty much a para that is there to assist and I would say assist the teacher with students that are I would say have high behavior problems,
Hmm.
that are behavior issues within the class, that are unable to focus, easily distracted and try to distract others within the
Hmm.
classroom. And a crisis management para is pretty much there to try and manage the student through one-on-one interaction all day. So
Okay.
pretty much being that conscience, like, don't do
Hmm.
this, no,
Yeah.
don't do that,
Yeah.
no, come on, focus, get your
Hmm.
work done. It's like that still small voice.
Yeah.
That's how I describe it. It's
Hmm.
that still small voice that's telling the student constantly throughout the day, don't do this, don't do that, no,
Hmm.
sit down, no, don't get up. You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah.
what a crisis management is. It's a
Hmm.
one-on-one. Academic power is more when a student doesn't have behavior issues, but has more issues in regards to catching on to the material or the
Hmm.
work that the teacher is presenting. and they need that added one-on-one help throughout the day to understand the work, so that they don't get too far left behind. Because the teacher has 25, 30 other students in the class, and because that student needs added help, that para is there to make sure that student is getting the extra help he needs, but he's not understanding what's on the board.
Excellent. And you're a crisis management para, so I would ask, in your years of being in this crisis management para position, the students that you've been assigned to work one-on-one with, what demographic do you say they would be? Like boy, girl, Black, Latino, Hispanic, white?
Mostly boys, black male boys. Mostly black. Yeah.
Mostly black male boys, right?
There are some female I've seen, but they're all minorities.
Yeah.
Especially the ones that have one-on-ones.
Crisis management, yeah.
I have not seen yet a Caucasian student having a one-on-one. Me personally.
A crisis management one-on-one para. Yeah, me neither. That's interesting. Interesting to get the facts on that one. So you have a lot of experience in this. So what would you say are things that have worked for your kids, particularly Black boys who have a crisis management para? What has been effective with supporting those kids? What are some strategies or tips that's worked for them?
I would say, and I think this goes for all students, all students, all children. They can pick up on whether or not you care. And I think it's just an innate God-given gift that they can't even describe it, I don't think either. But students know when a person cares about them. And I've always tried to not look, because sometimes, and it's human nature. Human nature, you hear about the student before you meet them. You read a report about that student before you even see them. And human nature may kick in to already have a built-up wall or a built-up negative mindset towards that student before you even see him. And I've always tried to paint or give each student a blank canvas and allow them to paint their portrait. So, and that portrait is what our relationship is going to look like. So what I do is, the first time I meet them, I try to just sit back and watch, especially once we're introduced and they know I'm there for them. I try to watch, and I don't really say much the first day or two, unless it's egregious. But I try to allow them to interact those first couple of days. And after that, once I get an understanding of what the expectation is that they want that student to do, sometimes I've had students whose behavior was so off the wall, they didn't really care about what work they were doing. They didn't care if they got any work done. They just didn't want them disrupting the class. Okay? They just didn't want them doing anything to disrupt anybody else and just manage the behavior. Education was second, because the behavior in the teacher's eyes and in the management's eyes was so bad that they just wanted them to behave properly. And I've seen that once you garner a relationship with a student, no matter what age it is, from elementary all the way up to middle school, I would say middle school is a little easier. The student is able to listen, and it gets to a point where you can just look at them and they're like, okay, sorry, Mr. Will, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? But it takes time. I would say it takes time and a lot of patience.
Yes.
A lot of patience. And I've noticed that the amount of patience I use within the classroom and within my job with students, it affects my patience outside of work. Like, my patience outside of work is very much shorter than in the classroom. Like, I have a whole lot of patience in the classroom. But once I leave there, it's like, yo, come on, man. Like, come on. Like, you gotta be on it, man. Like, that's taking way too, I'm trying to get better at that. Because I'm trying to even out my levels, that I have the same amount in the classroom as I do outside.
Yeah.
I would say the main thing is patience.
And I think,
time.
yeah, I think that's it. I think as a teacher, any field you're in where you're working with kids, especially, patience and caring about the kid is everything. I feel like that's, if we can assess that, if we can test a person's amount of patience with kids and how much they care about kids, I think that will be the ultimate test to decide whether you should be a teacher or any field working with kids or not, because that right there, those two are the formula to be able to support the kid as best as you can, being patient with them and just letting them know you care. Because like you said, when kids know you care, they may mess up, but as long as they know that you care about them, they'll listen and they'll try to adapt
and they'll try to fix the behavior
and try to fix the behavior.
They'll try to work with you. Like, even though, their impulses are going, they'll try to work with you. But I think if you don't have patience and you don't give the time, you're automatically not going to care. So I think it's like 1 + 1 = 2. If you don't have 1 and 1, you'll never get to 2. So if you don't have the patience, or you have the time, but if you don't have one of those two and they're not together, you're not going to care. I don't think you'll care, because your patience is going to go thin and you're going to be like, I can't deal with this no. So it takes a lot of patience.
That's true. A lot of patience.
If you ain't got it, you're not going to keep on trying to put that effort to finally reach it.
Yeah. Because it's a process.
There's been a lot of times where if I knew personally, if I didn't have a lot of patience, I couldn't do it. Like, I would be like, I can't do this. I'm out. But because I kept on and I kept on and I kept on, because I had a lot of students that a lot of people was like, yo, I don't know how you got what you got with that student, but you the man. You know what I'm saying? But it took patience. It took patience and it took time.
Yeah.
But if I didn't have that level of patience, I would have never got the result I would have got at the end, where now I don't have to say nothing to that student. I just be like, yo, really? Just look at them. Like, oh, I'm sorry. And they know. And they look at you, or they look at you before they're about to do something, or they'll do it once you leave.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That's, I think, a big sign of respect. Like, I have enough respect for you that I do want to wild out, but I'm not going to wild out while you're here. But as soon as you leave, Mr. Will, I'm wild out.
It's on.
You know what I mean? And that shows that all that time of patience and patience, it got through to them to say, you know what, Mr. Will cares for me, so I'm going to try my best to be as good as I can while he's here. And, if he's not here, it is what it is.
It is what it is. That's a fact, because kids, they're assessing the people that are in their life, especially black boys in the school system. They've been let down by so many people and so many teachers who've tried and given up and gotten to the point where they're like, well, I give up on this kid. Nothing works. He's been like this from pre-K or kindergarten, whatever. So they'll wait, and then they'll give up on a teacher just like the teacher gave up on them. But if you're patient enough to stick it through longer than others, the kid's like, whoa, this one's going to ride with me. This one's here. Regardless of what I do, they keep coming back. They care. And that's when you get them. You don't never know. It's a process. You don't know when it's going to hit. You don't know when it's going to hit. When it does hit, you got the kid. You can tell.
Some is quicker, some is longer, but it'll hit eventually.
Yeah. And then the fact that you had success with other kids in that area, you've seen the process and you've seen it become successful, then that gives you more patience for other kids, because eventually they'll turn around to you as well. Definitely. All right, our last segment. I call this Choose Your Teachers Wisely. So this is a chance for you to give a shout out. I know you mentioned one of your past teachers before, but this is your chance to give a shout out to anyone who has educated you. Only one person or thing. So it can be a podcast, a book, a former teacher, someone in the media, someone who has educated you on anything that you want to give a shout out to, and tell why.
Wow, that's a good one. A book, teacher, someone that has educated me. Wow, that's a good one. Oh man.
Yeah, take your time. One person, a thing that has educated you and put you in a good state, or taught you something that you felt was valuable.
Dang. That is an excellent question.
Take your time.
I'm trying to think. Oh man. Media.
Look, anyone, a thing, person.
Okay. All right. You know what? I got it.
Mm-hmm.
I had a science teacher. And this was at a point in my college career where I was getting kind of discouraged about science. Because I had my I was a geology major, right? And I had messed up, got on academic probation for like I think the second time.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to go to a 2-year school to like bring up my GPA and then try to retransfer back to a 4-year. And at the time, I went to Kingsborough Community College.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget it. And I took a geology course. I've retaken one of the courses I'd taken that I didn't do so well. I think I got a C or D. And I retook the course at Kingsborough with this teacher, Indian guy, Dr. Dar. Dr. Dar.
Mm-hmm.
Never forget. This guy, when I say I fell back in love with geology, I literally fell back in love with geology.
That's what's up.
The way he was able to explain science, even explain physics, was amazing. Like, it was to the point where I was volunteering my time during the summer to do research project with him at the school. And I didn't have to do it. That's how much I loved the way he explained science, the way he did it. Like, I loved it. I never had another professor that good. Like, I wish I could have taken every course with him because I would have got straight A's. Because the way he answered the questions, the way he explained the concepts was amazing. The concept of physics, like I remember the concept that he explained of physics and time travel till this day. I remember it like it was yesterday. And like him, Dr. Dar, I have to give him a shout out because
shout out to Dr. Dar,
because he was amazing. He was amazing. He was great, and it's not even because he gave me an A. But I felt I earned it because like what it was I was engaged. Like even though I might not have been sitting in the front, I was listening to every word he had to say. Every word he had to say, because it all made sense. Like, because I've been in classes in geology where the only reason why I'm really paying attention is because it's my degree field and I have to know the information. But the way they're presenting the information is like, okay, next slide. All right. Like him, he was writing on the board. He was drawing figures, drawing little graphs, trying to explain like every question, trying to answer every question. Like, it was amazing. It was amazing. Like, I loved it so much that, like I said, I was doing a research project about microscopic liquid injections within rocks and minerals. Like, it was just, I have to get it.
And I would say this, based on how you're describing that experience in the science class, is almost so similar to how you were describing your other teacher in high school and how they taught the Bible, right? You talk about the passion and you talk about the energy, right? And even the way they broke things down in layman terms or in an understandable way. Similar, very similar, right? So those are, once again, the key pieces of being a great educator.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. You can't just sit there and just talk all day. You have to engage. You have to talk. You got to ask questions. Like, especially in college, you have a lot of professors that are just very mundane, monotone, go from slide to slide to slide, take your notes, and I'm going to give you a test. And it's like me personally, I mean, I don't think I learn, I memorize that way. I can memorize that way, but I don't learn that way. And I think there's a difference between learning and memorizing. Definitely. Like, when teachers teach that way, I think you're memorizing the information for the test. But when teachers teach and are engaging and giving examples, drawing, to the best of their ability, they're not artists, but they're drawing to try to show you a model on what they're trying to explain. I think you learn that way, and that information is held on to. Because I can remember what he did and how he explained it, and I can close my eyes and remember how he was moving around and what he was drawing. But if you ask me one of those courses I had in my same geology, when my professors taught me all the stuff I had to learn, I can't remember. I know the mineral, I know what I have to do it, but I can't tell you how he told it to me.
That's it.
I can't tell it to you because that's because I memorized it, I didn't learn it.
That's it. That's great. We're gonna end on that note. I want to thank you, Rapiere, for coming on the show and sharing your experiences and sharing your knowledge as a para and as a student. I think that can be helpful for many. Yes, that's the end of our show. Thanks for watching. Stay blessed. And remember, education over everything. Peace.